Let's talk about the environment. We got lots of emails about AB32. That is, of course, the greenhouse gas initiative that was passed with great fanfare, signed by the governor in 2 places. It gives considerable authority to the California Air Resources Board, and it's designed, of course, to help remove carbon emissions in California, help with the global warming and pollution in general. A man from Alameda County, an equipment manager for Bay City's Paving and Grading, give him a plug there. He said, how would the candidates deal with this governmental agency in regard to jobs and encouraging businesses to come to California? Diesel regulations come to mind as well, but there are thousands of others. The San Jose Mercury News, on the other hand, just over the weekend had an editorial where they pointed out that Silicon Valley is a big supporter of AB32. Apple, Google, eBay, all believe that it puts the state in the front burner for high-tech green jobs. So how would you respond to AB32?
Well, it's called global warming. It's not state warming. The idea that we can put some kind of, draconian set of regulations that just apply here in California, that doesn't help the environment, and it destroys the economy. And we're not an economic island, and we're not an environmental island. So I believe that our environmental rules here need to be in sync with what's going on in the rest of the country. Well, let's be honest about this. If you want to build a new manufacturing plant here in California, well, you can't. Not very easily. It takes dozens and dozens of permits. It takes years to go through the whole permitting process, and that's a killer. Now, I live in Silicon Valley. We both do. Lots of venture capitalists all over the place. I mean, they tell me it's crystal clear. The high tax structure is bad enough, but at least it's set. You can run the numbers and figure out whether the high taxes will work for you or not in terms of starting a business here in California. But the regulatory system here, including AB32 and the bunch of the other regulatory rules here, that's a killer because you can't get an answer. That uncertainty is a showstopper. I'm proposing cutting down, shrinking the size of government, all right, but I'm going to create one new position when I'm governor. I'm going to call it the Chief Innovation Officer. That person's going to report directly to me. That person's going to focus on streamlining the permitting process. A couple ideas that this person's going to be responsible for. We're going to set up a one-stop shop. Instead of having to go to dozens of places to get permits, you come to one place, one website to get one central application. And then secondly, when you get into disputes over the permitting, and the disputes will arise over these environmental rules, then I want to set up a dedicated dispute resolution system. And we're going to give this dispute resolution system a mandate. Get an answer in 1 year or less. Now, I can tell some of you are going, 1 year, that's kind of long. That would be a huge, remarkable improvement. If we can get an answer to all permitting questions in 1 year or less, then we can get some jobs back to the state of California.
So I was one of the first gubernatorial candidates to call for putting a 1-year moratorium on the implementation of AB 32. Because what I saw as I traveled this state, that this was going to in fact drive more businesses out of California. What AB 32 does is it puts California once again at a competitive disadvantage to Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Texas, even Oregon. Everyone thinks of Oregon as a pretty green state. Oregon has nothing like AB 32. So I understand why we want to own the green tech industry in California. We should. As I said before, we have to own innovation. Governor Ritter in Colorado wants that business, so does Governor Perry in Texas. But AB 32 is not going to create more green jobs in California. The way we're going to have to do that is compete for those jobs through tax incentives and through other ways to make sure we don't lose that industry. But I want to also look at all regulations. As I have traveled this state, regulation is strangling businesses of all sizes. I was down in San Luis Obispo the other day visiting a farmer named Mark Teixeira, who said, listen, my water board tells me I'm supposed to recycle all the water on my farm, but the Leafy Green Commission tells me I can't recycle any of the water on my farm. I'm happy to do whatever you all want, but I can't recycle all of the water and none of the water at the same time. And you might think, well, that's a very unusual situation. Actually, it's not. So I want to put a 1-year moratorium on all new regulations. Let's stop the madness and let's streamline the regulations that we have. Let's make sure we harmonize regulatory authority. We have regulatory bodies competing with each other to regulate the same things. So let's simplify this and set a goal of getting approvals down to 2 months. You know, Texas did this. It used to take 2 years to get a permit in Texas to expand your business. It's now down to 2 months. Let's model on that. Let's build a master application where you have to put your information in only once, and then the state gives you an ombudsman to help you go through the process. So we can have high environmental standards, but we have got to streamline regulations so it's possible to do business in the state of California.
About 3 years ago, California's unemployment rate was about the same as the national unemployment rate. Now, our unemployment rate is 2.5 points higher than the national unemployment rate. And if you look at the graphs, it started to change when AB 32 passed several years ago. I don't think it's a coincidence. I mean, AB 32 is draconian. In order to meet all of the CO2 reduction requirements of AB 32, we have to get rid of every car on the road. I mean, that's how draconian the rules are by 2020. Now, I don't think a one-year suspension is enough. We need to give the business community, job creators, the venture capitalists, investors, the certainty that AB 32 won't kick in unless our unemployment rate's way down to where it used to be. I support the ballot initiative that's being circulated right now that would suspend AB 32 until the unemployment rate's at 5.5% for 4 quarters in a row. Right now, the unemployment rate's at 12.4%.
So the reason that I actually support a one-year moratorium on AB 32 is let's take stock of where we are. Let's understand what our alternatives are, because we do want to own the green tech industry in California, but this is going to take smart, effective policy to figure out how to do this. My view is, as AB 32 is currently configured, this is the wrong thing to do, but let's take a year, let's understand the job losses that will actually occur, and let's think of an alternative to make sure that we're competitive in owning all of innovation in California. And my view is there is a much better way to do this, but before we make a draconian decision here, let's be sure we know what we're going to next. What I see in politics in Sacramento all the time is almost rolling from crisis to crisis, guardrail to guardrail. And let's be thoughtful about this. Let's get it right once and for all before we make a knee-jerk reaction here. I want to make sure we understand how we can own this industry in California and what's the right long-term plan, and then we'll go to that.